Hello and welcome to the Mindset Mentor. I'm your host, Tania Kolar. Well, we are going to work out your mindset today. The Mindset Mentor is all about helping to strengthen and condition your mindset. And it's so important and key to be focused, to set goals. We all have, a desire. We all want to do extraordinary things, experience extraordinary things. And it all starts with an idea. And you want the vision to be present to help you achieve and accomplish your desires. Well, today we're going to give you inspiration. A gentleman joining us on the show today who has set a big, bold, hairy, audacious goal of traveling to every country on the planet. And he is so close to reaching that, 3 countries shy of that. And, due to travel restrictions, he was just been on hold just a little bit. So we're going to delve into the mindset. First of all, how he had the vision and how he was able to bring that vision to life, stay focused and determined, and make his dreams come true. And then to be so close, 3 countries away from accomplishing that goal, and to still stay determined and not to let that challenge that presented itself derail him from his goals. Because I think that is a huge problem. We all, of course, have goals and we have dreams and things that we want to accomplish in life. But life happens and then we are taken out of that vision. And it's so important to really stay focused. And I really want to help you build and strengthen and condition your mindset to cultivate the life you love, because you deserve to live an absolutely extraordinary life. So I'm going to just jump in and say hello to my guest, Stephen Fenech, joining us today. Again, quite the adventurer. He has traveled around the world right now at 193 countries and counting, and not just visiting those countries, but really delving deep and getting into the culture and experiencing the people and the presence of each of the places that he has visited. He is also an award-winning filmmaker, a writer. He's written 3 books, and I believe there's a 4th one in the making. So we're going to delve into his world and welcome Stephen Fenech. And it's such a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much, Tania.
Steve and I go way back. We've worked together in television for many years, and I have been, privy to some of your travel adventure stories. And some of those stories, Steve, were quite challenging. You went to some dangerous places, and I'd love to talk about all of your experiences. So first, let's get into the mindset of how it all began. Where did your vision of traveling to every country on the planet come from? Where did it start?
Well, it started in grade 13, when there was a grade 13. And I remember sitting in class and the teacher, we were learning world issues, and he would put up these films on about various parts in Africa and Asia, and it really opened my eyes, and I was like, I'm having such a secular experience right now. I'm kind of like just an observer. I really want to experience it, like to actually immerse myself in that culture. So it, when I first set out, I thought, no, this is an impossible task. I didn't say I'm going to do it, but it just, when I learned that I could do it, that motivated me. And it was a kind of like a baptism by fire. My very first backpacking trip, it was right after my final exam from high school. And I set out, I went backpacking in the Dominican Republic, and it was just a crazy, crazy experience. And I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? I didn't even speak any Spanish, and I was stranded. I had to walk 24 kilometers from Puerto Plata, the airport, into town. And I spent the night in the middle of a slum and just in a construction site. And I thought, I can't do this. I can't do this. But then what happened was the very next morning, everything just worked out. I remember I came across a trio of elderly people, and they were having little espressos outside, and the lady just she didn't even know me. I was just walking past. She handed me a small cup, and that just kind of invigorated me. And then as I was walking to try and figure out what I was going to do, a guy on a moped came by, and he was Canadian. He saw the Canadian flag on my backpack, and he goes, "Look, I can show you where you need to go." So I hopped on the back of his bike. He goes, "Okay, that's where you get a cheap place to stay. That's where you can buy food. That's where you can get beer." And it just, that's where you change money. And it just worked out. And in that 2-week period, I said, you know what, I can do this. And I was like, it was like an epiphany. I was just, this is my goal. And I kind of branched out from that. And then I went and set out around the world. I traveled for 3 years in one trip, and managed to go through 61 countries. And it was just insane because my consciousness, basically my thought process, where you have, like one memory leading to the other, something would trigger a memory as I'm traveling around the world. And I realized, all of this happened on the same trip, the very same trip. So it's just like, it was like a huge snowball that just mushroomed, got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I was like, no, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. I can see the entire world, and I'm going to do that.
I love it. I love hearing the story of, and the passion that you have for it, and not being, taken out of that vision, right, from that first experience in the Dominican Republic, on this construction site, in the middle of nowhere, not having, the presence of knowing where to go next, but the kindness of strangers that gave you the momentum to continue. And I love that, because that is so important, I think. We have to be very mindful of the people that we surround ourselves with, who can help support us, to help get us to our goals, to encourage us. And oftentimes, we let other people dictate our reality and what we're going to allow in. And so when someone says, "Oh, you can't do that, that's ridiculous. Like, what a huge, big, giant goal. Travel the world. Who do you think you are to travel the world?" Right? And it's like, no, actually, I'm Stephen Fenech, and I can travel the world, and I'm going to show you that I can do it. So congratulations and kudos to you for really holding tight to that vision and the passion that you had for that big, giant, beautiful goal.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what you said. I just learned to ignore the naysayers. And, if once you get the goal, like they say, obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eye off your goal.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And don't get me wrong, I didn't start out that way. I didn't say, "This is me, I'm determined." I was scared. And I thought, no way, no way. And I remember even the day I left on my 3-year trip around the world, I had my doubts, because the first part of my trip, I was taking a bus right across Canada. And I remember the bus, I was like saying, how am I going to do this? Like, the Dominican Republic, or a one-off trip when you're gone for 2 weeks, is one thing, but 3 years, I'm going to be on my own. I'm not going to see my family. And what happened was, the bus driver, as we were rounding just past Parry Sound on the way to Sudbury, because the bus had to get around the Great Lakes before traveling west. He put on a song. He put on the radio, and the song that came on the radio was an Aerosmith song, "What It Takes." And it was like, I had a total paradigm shift. I said, no, I'm thinking about this wrong. I shouldn't be worried. I'm going to have fun. This is going to be so much fun.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened. And, just all these experiences you have along the way, it's just, and even throughout the entire trip, not just traveling across Canada, but every time I felt that doubt creeping in, I would think of that song, and I would sing that song in my head, and it, totally recharged my batteries.
Oh, I love that. It's such a great story, because I think we all can use a reset sometimes, right? And have something, whatever it is that can lead you to the next step, is perfect, because it's so important to be able to take that next step, right? And so. Totally. Yeah, and so I want to talk to you about the 3 years. How did the 3 years come into play? Did that just accidentally happen to unfold?
Pretty much. Yeah. Like, when I was telling people that I was going to travel around the world, they say, "Well, how long are you going for?" And I go, "I don't know, 3 years, and it
Mm.
was literally but when I came back home, it was exactly 3 years plus 2 days when I came home.
Wow.
It just
Oh,
worked out
wow.
that way. And the thing was, you have to be what's the word? You have to be able to modify your itinerary. So what happened was, certain situations presented themselves, and I just had to take it in stride and roll with the punches. I'll give you a perfect example. I was in Thailand, and I was like, I'm heading to, sorry, I was in Indochina in
Hmm.
Vietnam, and I was heading to Nepal. And what happened was, a Dutch guy I was traveling with, he's going, you shouldn't go now. I was like, why not? He said, because it's the wrong time of year. I ended up diverting my entire trip like by 4 months so that I would arrive in Nepal in the trekking season. He goes, if you go now, you'll see nothing, because the whole idea was to go trekking to see Mount Everest, which I did. And
Wow.
luckily I took his advice, but it was funny because I was planning to fly from Bangkok through Bangladesh and into Nepal. I ended up going through Taiwan and the Philippines and all the way through China, around Pakistan, into India, and then up into Nepal. But that whole diversion was, it took 4 months, but in the end, I was really happy for that heads up.
I think it really is important to be agile, and listen to our intuition. Does it feel right? Is it the right time? Because again, that just small time span, that the 4 month period of waiting was such a huge shift in your experience.
Oh
So I
yeah.
think it really is so key. So let's talk a little bit about how you decided on what countries to visit on that first 3 year journey. How did you come up with it?
Okay, well, I decided to follow the sun west. But what really brought me, what kind of decided me to go to a specific country was, for instance, with the Democratic Republic of Congo. I went there with the intention of seeing the mountain gorillas, the silverback, and so
Wow.
that kind of, I wanted to do a safari in the Masai Mara and the Serengeti. And just I had certain goals along the way, and then so that kind of decided my path around the world. So just different wildlife, different cultures, things I wanted to see, and of course, landmarks. Like I had to see the pyramids in Egypt and all that on the
Mm-hmm.
first go. And then after that, it was, as I say, it's missing pieces to the global puzzle. So it's like fitting a puzzle together, and it's like, oh, I don't have this piece, or I don't have this piece, because I give me a full picture. But I mean, as well, like, it's not enough for me to have all these experiences and then just hoard them. I need to be able to share the experiences. So I use my art to as a vehicle to do that, and that comes in the form of either making films or writing about it, my books. But also, I give my free time to educate children. It's been on hold because of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
but to take the experiences I've had and make like slideshows, PowerPoint presentations, either a general presentation to a school about the experience of travel, or something. Sometimes the school board will contact me and they want a specific slant, like for instance world religions or climate change or what have you. But
Mm.
it's great because I'm able to reach these kids. And sometimes what really makes it worthwhile is when a kid comes up to me after the presentation and asks me how they would go about traveling and what they can do to do. And I thought, wow, that's great. I planted a seed, so it makes it
Yeah.
worthwhile, and it gives purpose to my traveling, and I think that's important too. It gives me a sense of purpose. So it's not, I'm having a great time when I'm traveling,
Mhm.
but at the same time I know I'm doing something productive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have found your gift indeed, or I should say gifts, because there's many of them, in your experiences of traveling and writing and educating others, and encapsulating that, in your films. So important. And I love that you are able to share that, and perhaps with people who would never have the opportunity to travel to see countries. And certainly I don't think there's many people who can say that they have the opportunity to travel to every country, or certainly close to it. And so it's really taking everybody along that beautiful, colorful journey with you. And that's exciting because just more beautiful things unfold. And I can imagine through your world travels, the amazing connections that you have, established with people, from all of those countries and the different cultures. So can you share a little bit of, what have you learned about people and the commonality in all the countries, or maybe even, the differences? What
Oh,
stands out for you?
yeah, that's a great point. One thing that I've learned that really kind of struck a chord with me, and it's really crystallized, is the fact that no matter what country you're in, the parents have that same family value. They're looking after their children, and even there could be a war going on. And I've been in many countries where the situation is, very, it's a bit dangerous. It's a little bit hectic, but it's interesting to see. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Last year when I was in Afghanistan, a few bombs went off in Kabul, and within an hour, everyone was back out on the streets. There was a guy opening up his shop and selling ice cream and what have you. And it's just, life goes on, and it doesn't matter what country you're in. And because having been to almost all of them now, I can attest to that.
Yeah, wow. That's truly amazing because I mean everybody experiences challenges in life and whatever those challenges are.
Yeah.
But it is so important that yes, to continue because life does go on and we can either take an experience and let it paralyze us, right? Or we can learn from it, take the lesson and move forward. And that's not an easy thing to experience, a bomb going off in your country, around you, near you, in your town, in your village, or wherever it may be. I mean, that's a scary thing, of course. So not easy to overcome and not easy necessarily to, go back to business as usual, right? So it
Yeah.
does take, I think, a certain mindset shift to be able to propel yourself forward from that point.
Yeah, no, exactly. And one thing as well, like just the fact, like I found that people, they don't have as many uh, uh, basically
Luxuries.
luxuries like we do. Thank you. But they're still happy. Like I remember one time, it was just a very simple story. I was in Zimbabwe near Victoria Falls, and there was a guy singing as he's sweeping a campground I was staying at. And I go, you seem so happy to me. He goes, I'm just happy for the breath of life. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And he was literally so happy, and him interacting with other people. And I thought that is such a motivating thing right there. It's almost like a Buddhist philosophy, like the less you have, the less problems you have. It's one of the Four Noble Truths.
Yeah, and sometimes the more joy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's so key. We can all find the joy in our moments. Like every moment is a choice. So we get to choose that. And I know sometimes it's not easy to make a choice that makes you feel better, because sometimes we like to stay stuck in those negative moments, but we can absolutely always surpass them. So I love that story, and thank you for sharing that. So we're going to take a short break here on the Mindset Mentor. That was Steve Fenech, traveling the world, 193 countries and counting. His goal is to visit all 196, so 3 countries away from his goal, and super phenomenal. We're going to learn why he didn't reach his goal yet and how he's going to continue to pursue his dream of making his goal a reality. So stay with us here on 960 AM, and we will be right back. Well, hello and welcome back to the Mindset Mentor on Saga 960 AM. I'm your host, Tania Kolar, and today we are taking you on quite the adventure around the world with my guest, Stephen Fenech, who is a video journalist and award-winning filmmaker and author multiple times over. And he has traveled now to 193 countries and counting. His goal is to visit every country on this planet, and that would equal 3 more countries. He's shy of those 3 countries, and we're going to learn why he hasn't made it to those 3 countries yet, and more. And by the way, you know, he set out with a great vision and a goal to visit every country on this planet, but it actually goes beyond this planet as well. He was shortlisted for the Mission 1, the Mars Mission 1. We're going to get into that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's just dive right back into the conversation. Steve, it is such a pleasure to have you here. And wow, quite the adventurer. So I want to delve into really, you know, more of the countries, more of the experiences, because I know that that's part of your mission. And the paradigm shift for you was that you realized that you needed to share your purpose and your experiences with the world. So let's go into your world and learn about some of those great countries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you know, there's a whole gamut in terms of culture and landscape and experience, and it's hard to put, you know, superlatives on one or the other, but it's interesting because you see similarities between a few of them.
Mm-hmm. It's phenomenal, actually. And so you had been to a country, I can't remember which one it was. I know that, you know, you shared your story and you were almost arrested, or you were arrested. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because some of these countries that you visited, you know, were in conflict, dangerous situations. So let's talk a little bit about those experiences.
Oh, yeah. And I was in Equitorial Guinea, and it was a crazy situation. They had just experienced an attempted coup d'etat, and it failed, but the whole country was kind of up in arms. And I was just using it as a quick way to get from Gabon up to Cameroon, because I had to catch a connecting flight to Chad. And what happened was they had all these military checkpoints along the road, and I showed up at one, and they wanted a bribe, and I was like, you know, they actually speak Spanish there. It's an African country, but they speak Spanish, and you know, like, I said no, and the guy pulled out his gun and he was going to shoot me. He had his gun.
Oh my goodness.
Pointed at my heart. And, you know, I was shaking, but I managed to say, you know, like, yo no soy banco. I said, I'm not a bank. I said, I work for my money like you. I still had to pay the bribe, but not as much as he wanted. But that was kind of a scary experience.
Wow.
But
so you bartered with a gunman, you know, essentially for your life.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But no, I've been in a few scary situations. I was in the middle of a terrorist attack in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, and 6 people died. And I mean, I was so close to the blast, it threw me to the ground. I felt the concussion of the blast. But I knew there would have been a case of being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, I wasn't targeted or anything. But like I said, and then, you know, kind of life went on. And
so in those moments of experiencing, you know, the middle of a terrorist attack and being so close to it, did it ever stop you from wanting to continue to travel? Did you even consider, say, hey, this is maybe too difficult and too scary and too dangerous?
No, I took care of that. I took care of that right from near the start of my traveling career. And like I said, one thing I've learned is that it doesn't matter, you know, so long as you think of the positive and keep that first and foremost in your mind, that you'll get through it, you know, like, and I will never let anything like that steer me from doing what I want to do. And, you know, if a country opens up, but there is a slight risk of going there, I still go there. If it's completely closed, like because of the COVID thing, then of course you're not allowed in. So that's the end of the line until it opens up again. So I'm kind of at their mercy. But no, I've been in a lot of situations, and what I find is that the media kind of sensationalizes a lot and situations are, because that's what sells newspapers, so to speak. And it's usually not near as bad as what the way they portray it.
Well, that's actually good news. I like the sounds of
Yeah.
that it's
I'll give
not
you
as negative
sorry to
as it
interrupt you, but I'll give
appears.
you a great example. I was in Iraq, and I remember going into it was like a souk, a market, and there was a guy selling something similar to like a shawarma, and I go, oh, that smells good, and I ordered one, and when I went to pay him, he just waved his hand. He goes, no, he goes, you're a guest in my country. He was so happy to have a foreigner there. He gave me the food for free.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
and I kept
Wow.
thinking to myself, I go, those kind of stories never make it on the news back home. But
Yeah, so
that's a
true.
reality of it.
Well, I think that's one of the great reasons why you now have the opportunity to share your story via the filmmaking and via your book. So I'd love to talk about that, and how you started writing about your experiences. Did you actually write during your travels? Did you journal?
Yes. Yeah, that it's funny. I remember when I was younger, my friend, lifelong friend of mine, Sean Tufford, we decided in our 14th year that we would walk from Toronto up to our cottages up in the Honey Harbor area. So it was like 3 days of hiking along the highway.
Wow.
And I would ridicule him because he just kept taking notes and like writing up, documenting our trip. And I go, that's dumb. But at the end of the trip, like a month after we finished it, he presented me with the journal that he kept. And I was laughing. I was like, he encapsulated the whole experience so well, and he proved me so wrong. And the thing was, it didn't happen right away, but that was the impetus that started my writing career. And so, yeah, and then when I decided every experience after that, I would keep a journal. And that was the material I used to delve into when I was actually producing the books. But the actual writing of the books what happened was I was on the boat coming back from Antarctica. And the experience I had in Antarctica, that was by far the best trip of my life.
Wow.
And it's so ironic because everyone, when I said I'm going to Antarctica, they're going, what are you going down there for? There's nothing down there. Oh, the total opposite was true. I was so moved by the experiences of being with the penguins and the whales and nature, just completely unperturbed by man. I mean, we were, observers really, but the thing was, when I was on the boat coming back, and I remember it was exactly when we were rounding Cape Horn. So half of the ship was in the Atlantic and half of it was in the Pacific. It was a very interesting time. I had another epiphany, and I was like, I have to be able to share this. That's when it actually took root. So that was a while ago, and I just said, you know what? I got to write a book about this. People have to know about these places that, this is how beautiful our planet is. And there's so much to see and experience, and because if you take that with you, you're like an ambassador for the planet to the next person you meet. And so I have a feeling if people see it, they'll respect the environment more, and respect each other, and it's, I don't know, to me, it's like a seed of experience and knowledge is what actually will cause peace to flourish, and not just peace between ourselves, but kind of an equilibrium with the environment that we live in. And so that was when it happened. So I started writing, and so I've now published 2 of them because it was too much to fit in one book.
Fabulous. So what's the
information?
I'm sure there's another one in the making, I understand. So tell us the name of your books.
Okay, well, it's called Earth, Been There, Done That, Got the T-shirt. And so there's book 1, The Big Kahuna, which actually highlights the entire 3-year trip around the world. And then the second book, which is Missing Pieces of the Global Puzzle. And that one is everything after, and a few stories before, like the story of that I explained to you in the Dominican Republic, the baptism by fire.
Wow. And so would you say that experience in the Dominican was one of your most memorable, or what is your absolute top most memorable moment through all of your adventures?
That would be it. That would definitely be it, because that was the turning point. That's when I went from I can't do this, I'm worried, to I can do this. You know, I remember when I actually had the exact paradigm shift, I was on a bus going from Santo Domingo to, I was going from Samana back to Santo Domingo because I had to catch my flight back into Puerto Plata. And I was like, you know what? All that time I spent where I didn't realize how much fun I was having. You know, I mean, and there was another one. I actually I remember revisiting that experience, and I got stranded on the island of Reunion, which is just off the coast of Madagascar. And what happened was, I had no money. I basically, it's a long story, but I arrived in Mauritius, and they gave me three choices. You either go back to India, you go back to Canada, or you go to jail. Those are my three choices.
Oh, okay. So the third one doesn't sound so great.
No.
Yeah.
So, and I just was like brainstorming, and I just basically read the back of my plane ticket, and I was talking about passenger rights that are in transit. And I said, look, I'm still in transit. You haven't stamped me into your country, so you have to allow me to leave. And the straw boss, or I guess the guy in charge of security at the airport there in Mauritius, he just said, yeah. So I bought a plane ticket to Reunion, but the thing was that plane ticket, and then my plane ticket from there to get to Madagascar and back to mainland Africa, it depleted my funds, and there was no Canadian representation, not even a British envoy on the island, because Reunion is a French possession. And I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? Because the first flight out was 3 weeks away, and I had no money. So I was basically begging. I actually ate garbage.
Oh,
and the thing was,
goodness.
it was a crazy time. And I was like, luckily I had a tent, and I did get some charity from people I met along the way. I actually stayed at a seminary for a couple of days. The priest was very accommodating. But then at the tail end of that, when it came time, it was near Christmas time. I spent Christmas in my tent that year.
Wow.
But just after Christmas was when I was able to catch the flight. And I realized, I was so worried about trying to survive. I didn't realize how much fun I was having. And it's an amazing island. Like there's like 4,000 meter high peaks on this small island in the Indian Ocean. But yeah, I know it was just an incredible experience.
Wow. I mean, that sounds fascinating. And it's such a great lesson as well, because if we can step past our fear, we can actually see the beauty that is beyond that. And, certainly, you had that epiphany after that 3 weeks of being stranded. Quite scary, to be stranded in a country that you're unfamiliar with, to have no money, and to be living in a tent. Right? So phenomenal stories. I love that you're taking us on this beautiful journey around the world with you. We're going to take a break and continue the journey right here on Saga 960 AM. You're listening to The Mindset Mentor, and we will be back after this. Well, hello and welcome back to the Mindset Mentor on Saga 960 AM. Happy Saturday. I hope you are having a phenomenal day. We're going to continue the conversation. We are traveling around the world with Stephen Fenech, who is a video journalist and award-winning filmmaker who has traveled now to 193 countries. He's shy of his goal of traveling to every country, so he's 3 countries shy. We're going to learn about those 3 countries, why he hasn't made it there yet, and quite the stories. Steve, you were in the middle of a terrorist attack, stranded for 3 weeks in a different country with no money, living in a tent. So many incredible stories, held up, at gunpoint, dangerous situations. And, I'd love to talk about, some of the things that were going through your mind at that point. And I also want to talk about, why did you not get to the last 3 countries? What happened?
Okay, well, everything was set to go. I had my plane ticket. I was going to use Australia as a base, and my last 3 countries. There was an island in the South Pacific called Nauru, and you need a visa to get there. And I got the visa. I was like 3 weeks away from finishing the world, and then I thought, well, I'll do them all in one trip. So I was going to use Australia as a base. Visit Nauru, and then head to East Timor, which is just above Australia, and then come back to Brisbane and fly up to Palau, which is an island in the North Pacific, but just slightly closer to Taiwan. So those are the last three: Palau, Nauru, and East Timor. But because of COVID, Australia closed their borders, and I mean, I had a plane ticket and couldn't use it. And you know, they kind of made the decision for me. Like if they were still open, and even with if there was, you know, the whole 14-day quarantine, I still would have gone. You know, I would have put up with that because, you know, I got to get to those last three.
Yeah,
you know,
so close.
I just got to take a pause, and you know, that's life, right? Like, you know, things, it throws you some curveballs, and I'll give you a great example though. I'm not too worried because some of the countries that I have been to, they were just completely closed to tourists. I'll give you a great example. Saudi Arabia, you couldn't go. And then just when a window opened up, I took advantage of it and I made it. I never thought, I was waiting 20 years to get there, and I finally did it.
That's amazing.
And Angola is another one that it was just, you know, you couldn't get in there. And so these countries are, you know, they're not as stringent with their policies, but it's just got to take it in stride and, you know, like retrench and rethink my game plan. You know, I may not be able to do them all in one go as I initially planned, but even if I have to do them piecemeal, I'm ready to do that.
Yeah, and that's fascinating.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, and I think it's a great lesson in patience, right? Sometimes we do have a vision and we do need to adapt. We talked a little bit about that earlier, and being able to, you know, make the necessary changes. And life is always about change. We're always going to be faced with change, and I think it's so important to embrace change as opposed to fearing change, right? I think we all can get stuck in that moment of fear, and you know, we resist the change. But if you can just, you know, let it be what it's going to be. It's going to unfold organically in a sense, and maybe be so much more beautiful than you could have ever imagined. Like, for example, in those countries that you, you know, had trouble getting into, you know, Angola and more. Finally, when you got there, what was that experience like for you?
Oh, you're beside yourself. It's like you got to pinch yourself because you're like, I'm here. I'm actually here after so long, you know, like waiting. And the universe just works in mysterious ways, you know, like as long as you don't take your eye off your goal, like it makes things happen. And, you know, I have no doubt that it's going to be the same thing with my final three. It's just I just have to be patient and, you know, as I say, keep my ear low to the ground. And when the opportunity comes again, you know, I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you travel to all of these countries, is there one thing that you do consistently at every country?
Well, I collect beer labels.
Oh, okay.
Like when I'm picking a beer, I'll peel the beer label off the bottle, and that's my little souvenir. And then that's kind of, I make little collages in my journal as I'm going. It adds a little bit of colors to my penmanship.
Okay, I love it. And so what country has the best beer? Where do we need to go to find the best beer on the planet?
Wow, that's a good question. There's you know, Namibia has some great beer. The Windhoek beers, I really like that. And in Zaire, well, it's now the DROC, but they actually have the best beer in Africa.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. I love it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your documentary. You know, what did you compose in the documentary?
Okay, well, I've done a few documentaries, and you know, probably my most prevalent film and the one that's garnered the best reception is the one I did about the Bororo Wadabi tribe in Chad. It's called Chad Exodus, and it actually won in several film festivals. And it was never nominated for an Oscar, but it won the grand jury award at the Yosemite Festival, and which qualified it for Oscar consideration. So people from the Academy actually saw my film, which was really a great thing. But I've done, you know, most of my films just deal with different cultures. Nothing really political. I did a film about North Korea called Facet 3, which kind of explores both sides of the story with North Korea. So how the West perceives them, how they try to portray themselves to the rest of the world, and then what I saw by being on the ground. It's kind of taking the middle road. And, it's the same thing what comes down to, like, the similarities between cultures, like you see people, the older people looking after the children and, propping them up and happy and sharing laughs with them. I was like, it totally debunked all the myths about North Korea being immersed like that. Like, it wasn't like where you have a minder saying, watch this. And it wasn't the West saying, oh, that's bad. It was actually experiencing, like, communicating as we are right now, you and I, like just sharing experiences, sharing laughs, right?
Yeah, it's so important. It's so good to know, and community, I think, is important for any culture, right? Because we really thrive on community. I mean, life is, think about it, if you just experience life by yourself, that's not so fun, that's not enjoyable.
Yeah, a wise person said, life is a book, and those who don't travel read but a page. It's really taking the opportunity to the whole carpe diem thing, seize the day, see as much as you can. And that's exactly what I do now. I'm in quarantine. There's a pandemic around the world, but rather than being affected by it, I say, well, okay, this is my situation. Rather than concentrate on what I can't do, what can I do in this situation? And so I'm keeping myself busy, because for me, to each his own, but for me, busy equals happy, and it's not just work, but I mean, things that I'm able to do. Like, I enjoy windsurfing, so it's easy to self-isolate when you're out in the middle of the lake and just you and the fish and the birds.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important, right, to really foster that positive mindset, and exactly as you say, what's good about this situation. And I think there's so many things that we are learning and will continue to learn from this global pandemic. But at the heart of it all, we are all the same. I think that's a great learning experience as well. But for you taking us into the different countries, people all have, a heart, the same heart, and we all want to thrive, essentially, and see the people around us thrive as well. And so I think it is so important to really help to create a world where we're united, where we don't see our separations and our differences. And I think this time on the planet right now that we're experiencing has really opened a lot of people's eyes to that. And some people still are, opposed to that and stuck in the divide. And I think it's, a mission for everybody. I think that's our goal on this planet, is to really get rid of that huge divide. And traveling is certainly a way to do that.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I mean, even if you just want to look at the planet as a whole, we're giving Mother Earth a bit of a breather, literally, with, it just, the thing is about the natural systems work because there's no design flaws. Mother Nature takes care of everything. And,
perfect order.
Yeah, and I find that in this situation, rather than look at the gray cloud that's hovering over you, look at the silver lining, and it's like, okay, we're allowing it to breathe a little bit and just take a pause and remove ourselves from all the because we're so go, and just to sit back and say, okay, well, let's just quiet down for a bit, and it's just nice. Like I communicate with my siblings much more than I did prior to COVID, like weekly phone calls, and it's nice because I find I'm connecting with their minds more, rather than what they're doing. It's like, how are you feeling, and you kind of grow from that, and it's just like you're connecting mindset to mindset, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And it's interesting to see the lessons that people have learned from this. And some people are still, not ready to look at the lesson, and that's
Mhm.
okay. It's where you are, it's where you're at. Every moment is an opportunity to grow, to be better, to do better, to know more. We're all on this planet and just figuring it out
Yeah.
every moment by moment. Life
Yeah.
unfolds, and I think it is important to seize the day, right? As you say,
Yeah.
and to foster our best life,
Mhm.
essentially. So I also want to talk to you, because we don't have too much time left, but I want to talk to you about the Mars mission. So your goal, huge, amazing goal, and you're so close to that. And I know you will get to that goal soon, to visit 196 countries. But you want to actually, go beyond the stratosphere. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, a few years back, I was selected. I actually went quite far with this program, the Mars One mission, because they had an initial roster of 203,000 applicants from around the world, and I actually made it into the top 600.
So can you
And
tell everyone what the Mars One mission is for those that don't know?
yeah, it was a one-way mission, basically, to fly to Mars and set up a colony and try and, put the human race on two planets rather than one.
Wow.
And it's kind of comes back to the analogy of, I saw the purpose and the value, the merit of it by the fact that, if you think about having eggs in a basket, you have more than one egg, so to speak, in case something goes wrong. But I just, for the whole betterment of the human race and, the advancement of knowledge, I thought this would be great because I'm kind of like an ambassador of Earth in that I've seen our own planet and I can take that with me, that whole drive and, to try and capture what it would be like to live on another planet, and maybe when people see something beyond their situation, if it's not the greatest, it might inspire them, right? And as a race, so I think it was just a profound importance for the entire race to do that. And even though, I mean, I'm not part of that plan anymore. It kind of fell by the wayside, the whole program. But there's other people like Elon Musk, SpaceX and NASA. There's their Artemis mission, which is, they still have their goal set on Mars. And so I support it in any way because I see the value in that, in reaching out beyond our own planet.
Mm-hmm. So
For our
how
survival, really, it is a question of survival. If you know about astronomy and the way, everything works, hey, it's something, we could have a comet hit us and that's the end of the human race. We haven't been here very long compared to the age of the universe. We're clocking in at 13 billion years for our universe, and we've only been here really, less than a million in any way, shape, or form. Modern
Yeah.
man.
So securing our future. Interesting way to look at it for
Yeah.
sure. But I do believe it's so important to have that open mindset, to be open to learning, to absorbing new things and taking chances and taking a risk,
Mhm.
and see the possibilities that are out there. We live in a limitless, infinite universe full of possibilities. And so
Yeah.
I think it's so important to start to recognize some of those possibilities. So what last bit of advice can you give the listeners for making their dreams come true? And I know that your huge goal, this amazing vision of traveling to every country, will indeed come to light very soon. You're 3 countries away. You're on a little bit of a pause, but you didn't let it derail you from what your vision was. So what kind of advice can you give the listeners to help them continue to really focus and to strive and to reach their goals?
Well, I would say never take your eye off your goal, because the thing is, the more goals you achieve, it just gets bigger and bigger. The more goals you set, the more goals you achieve. The more goals you achieve, the more goals you set because you say, I can do this, and it becomes almost like a feedback loop where it encourages the overall effort, and you just become a stronger person as a result. And the thing is, people who are worried about setting out over the horizon, you know, to the far shore, rather than worry about what's on the far shore. Just go, just do it because you can. And the thing is, one of two things can happen if you do that: anything and everything.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's so good. And I think it's really important as well to reward ourselves when we do reach some of those micro goals. You know, we want that big goal, have the vision, know exactly where you want to go. You have to know where you are and then know where you want to be, right, as the end goal. But when you achieve those goals, so important to recognize that yes, I've accomplished something that I set my mind out to. Doesn't matter how small those goals are, because we actually chemically are releasing dopamine
Yeah.
you know, in the brain, right? And that's that feel good chemical. It's the reward center. So we want to achieve more of those micro goals and say, job well done.
Yes. Yeah. No. Exactly. You know, like life is about balance. You know, you can't just work, 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 work. You have to reward yourself. You have to set out that time to breathe, to appreciate what you have, as well as to enjoy yourself. You know, like even in this situation, if I have to go to work during the day, or sorry, in the evening, during the day, I was like, well, what can I do before work and try and accomplish something, you know? And you know, like it's all about balance, you know. Okay, I'm going to work a bit on my writing, and that way I can say, you know, I did accomplish something, but then I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to take some time and maybe play the guitar or something, and just use a different part of my brain and enjoy myself, and you know, breathe you know, smell the flowers and breathe the air, and just, you know, so it's all about balance. It's kind of harmonizing with every aspect of your life. You know, don't just sit back and, you know, be a couch potato. Get out there, do things, but also you know, like so long as you're working towards your goal at the same time, you know, he's like, yeah, I can reward myself now. I can sit back, pop open a cold beer and play guitar and watch the sunset, you know, because it's like, job well done. You've accomplished your goal.
Yes, I love it. Absolutely. Well, Stephen, I want to say thank you so much for joining us here on the Mindset Mentor, taking us around the world with you on your travels, and such a great vehicle for you to share, continue to share, and with more documentaries. I know there's more books in the works. Where can the listeners find your books?
Oh, all of my books are available on Amazon, and if they entered my name on the IMDb website, the
Mhm.
movie database, they'll see my films all listed there, if they're interested in that. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thanks again so much. And I know that you will make your big, giant, beautiful goal of 196 countries shortly. And thanks for being an inspiration to everyone to continue to focus and to, you know, pursue your goals and your dreams, because they are attainable. Stephen's story is such a great testament to that. So this is the Mindset Mentor on Saga 960 AM. This was your mindset workout. So make sure that you strengthen and condition your mindset to cultivate a life that you truly love, because you deserve to have that and you can make that happen. Stay tuned and we'll be back here with more on Saga 960 AM.